Hope Logan, for the first time in her life in that golden moment before she uttered the words, "I do," stood trembling beneath the ornate floral arbor, the ivory lace of her gown whispering against the marble floor. The soft summer breeze carrying the fragrance of jasmine and gardenia through the sunlit courtyard of Forrester Creations' private estate. Carter Walton, his tuxedo crisp, his bow tie straightened by nervous fingers, looked at her with such devotion that even the distant murmur of the assembled family and friends faded into a silent halo around them. Brooke and Ridge stood to her right, their expressions a blend of pride and nostalgia. Steffi and Finn to Carter's left, sharing an excited glance, and behind them the Logan clan, Donna, Brooke's mother, crying silent tears of joy, Katie, her arm looped through Bill Spencer's. Even Wyatt and Flo, scribbling selfies, caught up in the euphoria. Everything had been perfect. The string quartet's opening chords, the soft golden light dancing on crystal chandeliers hung in the magnolia trees, the gentle applause as Hope made her way down the aisle, and Carter's whispered, "I've never been more certain of anything in my life," just moments ago as he readied his bow card. Then Daphne Forrester, tall, steady, unexpected, stepped through the throng like a ship's prow breaking through mist, her hand clutching a slim tablet that glowed with the weight of revelation. A hush rippled through the crowd, airflow stilled, birdsong muted, as everyone turned toward her. At that instant the world seemed to hold its breath. Hope's mouth hung slightly open, Carter's brow furrowed as Daphne raised the tablet high enough for cameras and witnesses alike. On the screen flashed a recording. Carter's own voice, calm and measured, confessing in a dimly lit corner of the Los Angeles office building how he had buried evidence of Luna Nozawa's plot to poison Steffi and instead manipulated Taylor's medical records for his own ends. How he'd lied to Hope about his motives, concealed text messages detailing his conspiracy with Nick Spencer and Brooke Logan to protect the Forrester legacy at any cost. The recording crackled suddenly, and Daphne's voice, unwavering, rang out. "Today is not about your fairy tale ending, Hope Logan. Today is about the truth you deserve to hear, about the man you love who hid a web of deceit." Hope staggered, the echo of Daphne's words crashing against the palace walls of her dream. Carter reached out, face paling, mouth open in denied protest, but no sound emerged. Ridge lunged forward, jostling through ranks of stunned guests, Brooke calling his name in alarm. Steffi, at his side, put a hand on his arm, her eyes glittering not with celebration, but with dismay. Cameras swung toward Carter, capturing his rigid shoulders and the hollowing of his gaze as he stammered, "Hope, I can explain," but his voice fractured under the weight of betrayal. In that fatal heartbeat, the ceremony dissolved into chaos. Guests gasped, some cried out, chairs scraped and were overturned. The quartet's violins faltered into a screeching discord. Hope's hands flew to her face. Tears spilled unheeded as the betrayal of her heart exploded before her eyes. Daphne stepped closer, offering the tablet to Hope, lines of text illuminating the sordid breadth of Carter's transgression. Emails in which he had agreed to frame Taylor Hayes to break Ridge's alliance with the Logans, messages in which he orchestrated Luna's false accusation of rape against Will Spencer, phone logs proving he had bribed the private investigator in Paris to dig up Taylor's psychiatric suspension. Brooke lunged at Daphne, lips parted in rage, but Ridge held her back, his voice strangled as he demanded answers. "Why now? Why on my daughter's wedding day?" Daphne's gaze never wavered. "Because she deserves the truth before she says I do," Daphne replied, voice clear enough for every microphone to catch. Hope's pulse thundered, and she slid from Carter's side to her knees, the filigreed hem of her dress blossoming around her like a wounded bird's wings. Carter sank to one knee as well, but it was an imploring gesture lost in the maelstrom. Flashes from the paparazzi blitzed through the open arches. Reporters outside clamored, pressing cameras against the French doors, broadcasting the scandal live to millions. Hope felt her world fracture into sharp, glinting pieces. Every promise Carter had whispered, every plan they'd made, every step she'd taken toward this altar now lay in ruins. Brooke's voice cracked above the tumult. "Carter, how could you?" Carter's gaze flicked from Brooke to Ridge to Steffi to Finn and landed finally on Hope, who could only stare back, eyes wide with disbelief. He opened his mouth, closed it, then closed it again, throat bobbing like a broken puppet. At the far edge of the courtyard, Taylor Hayes appeared, drawn by the commotion, medical records in one hand, a compassionate but guarded look in her eyes. She stepped forward, as if to shield Hope from the storm, but the wedge between them now was too wide, carved by Carter's duplicity. Guests divided into muttering clusters, some denouncing Carter as a traitor, others accusing Daphne of sabotage, some consoling one another while others took out phones to live stream every moment. The flowers, once a symbol of romance, wilted under the heat of tension. The champagne flutes, now trembling in trembling hands, threatened to shatter with every tremor. Hope, still on her knees, clutched the dropped bouquet, white roses staining her palms with pollen. She lifted her head, tears streaking her cheeks, and for the first time in her 27 years, she felt the ground shift beneath her feet. There, amid the ruins of her wedding dream, she realized that the Forrester-Logan alliance, meticulously built on loyalty, love, and the promise of unity, had been threatened from within by the very man she loved. And as Carter fell silent, crumpling into himself, Hope rose unsteadily to her feet, eyes blazing with heartbreak and fury, knowing that this would not be the end, but the beginning of a reckoning that would test every bond, expose every secret, and redefine what it truly meant to love in the world of the bold and the beautiful. Remy first sensed that something was off when Luna Nozawa began arriving at Forrester Creations early in the morning, her heels echoing down empty hallways, her eyes darting from door to door as though searching for more than just the studio where she pretended to consult on the next runway show. He'd been passing her by the entrance to the design loft when he noticed the way her hand hovered over her phone, the way her thumb paused over the camera app as if she intended to film someone without their knowledge. Later, in the break room, he spotted her scrolling through Steffi Forrester's public schedule, pausing on a photograph of Steffi laughing at last week's charity gala as the sun dipped behind the Santa Monica Pier. Remy's gut tightened. He had known Luna to be charming in her odd, enigmatic way, part indie model, part consultant, always laser-focused on crafting her next big moment in the spotlight, but he also knew that behind those cool gray eyes there lurked a restless fury. He remembered the way Luna had snapped at Steffi during a fitting earlier that month, when Steffi offered her a sympathetic word about the endless pressures of Forrester life. Luna's laugh had been hollow, sharp as broken glass, and her reply tinged with venom, "You have no idea what it's like to live in someone else's light." At the time, Remy had brushed it off as artistic competitiveness. Now he wasn't so sure. Over the next few days he trailed Luna discreetly, noting her clandestine phone calls on the loading dock behind the shipping department, her furtive messages to an unnamed contact, and the way she flinched when she thought no one was watching, as if expecting something, or someone, to strike her at any moment. He even caught her one evening pocketing a length of medical tubing and a vial of clear liquid from a cart in the prop closet, materials that obviously didn't belong there. Alarm bells rang in his head. When he approached her under the pretense of delivering a rack of fabric swatches, Luna's reaction was immediate. She dropped the items and spun around, her face a mask of faux surprise and indignation. "Remy, what are you doing here?" she exclaimed, voice trembling somewhere between anger and fear. He let the swatches slip to the floor and knelt to gather them, watching her warily. "I saw you in the prop room," he said quietly, sliding one of the tubes into view. "That doesn't belong to you, Luna." Her eyes flashed, first with irritation, then with something darker, more unsettled. She snatched the prop back as though it burned her fingertips. "I'm just borrowing it for a shoot," she lied, her voice brittle. "I needed authenticity." Remy stood, heart pounding. "A shoot? With medical props?" He waited for her to explain, to let her smooth it over with one of her practiced smiles, but she couldn't. Instead, she let out a small, bitter laugh and turned away. That night, unable to sleep, Remy pulled up Luna's social media and found a series of deleted posts hidden in her private archives, snippets of venomous commentary about Steffi's privileged existence, accusations that Steffi was the queen of faux compassion, hints that if Steffi ever felt true fear, she'd understand what it meant to have everything taken away in an instant. The posts were too pointed to be coincidence. They were a confession of hatred guised as angry rhetoric. Remy realized she didn't just dislike Steffi, she resented her so deeply that she might do anything to see her fall. He called his closest friend among the Foresters, Carter, to tell him what he'd seen, but Carter brushed him off, convinced Luna was harmless. So Remy decided to confront Luna himself, to force her admission before she could act. The next morning, he found her alone in the fabric archive, lining up swatches along a long table. He stepped in, closing the door softly behind him. Luna looked up, her expression cool but eyes wary. Remy crossed the room in 2 strides and leaned against the table, folding his arms. "Luna, I know you've been talking about Steffi," he said. "I saw the posts. I saw you handling those props. What are you planning?" Luna's lips curved into a rueful smile, and she set a crimson silk swatch aside. "You think I'm dangerous?" she asked lightly. "I'm just passionate." Remy let his anger surface. "Passionate is one thing. You said you wanted to see Steffi feel fear. You hinted you wanted to harm her. What's this really about?" Luna stood, smoothing her skirt as though to compose herself, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. "Steffi's perfect life makes me sick," she confessed, pacing a few steps toward him. "I'm tired of living in the shadows of these families, of being the outsider they tolerate but never truly accept. Steffi has everything, talent, beauty, love, while I'm stuck chasing scraps." Her shoulders shook, and Remy saw raw emotion flare behind her eyes. "So what? You want her to lose everything?" he pressed. Luna stopped, turning to face him, her features hardening. "If she could understand the kind of despair I feel, maybe she'd feel my pain," she spat. "Maybe then she'd see that the world isn't just sunshine and runway lights." Remy's pulse pounded. He needed more, an outright admission of malice, a confession of intent, something he could use to stop her before she did something irreversible. He took a step closer, lowering his voice. "Luna, listen to yourself. You're talking about violence. I'm giving you a chance to stop this before it goes too far. We can get you help, talk to someone. But if you go through with whatever you're planning, I can't protect you." Luna's eyes flashed anger, then grief, then a chilling resolve. She reached into her bag and pulled out the vial he'd seen the night before. "You don't get to protect me," she said. "I'll make her suffer." Remy recognized the trace of cyanide in the vial, same clear liquid used in Steffi's poisoning weeks earlier. Panic and indignation collided inside him. He lunged for her hand, knocking the vial onto the floor, where it shattered with a crystalline ping. Luna let out a raw scream, but Remy didn't hesitate. He pinned her arms behind her back, his mind racing to dial security as she thrashed, limbs tangling with his. Security burst through the archive door seconds later, alerted by Remy's phone call, and subdued Luna with practiced efficiency. Remy stepped back, his chest heaving as he watched her cuffed, her face wet with tears of fury and betrayal. In the aftermath, Remy escorted a trembling Steffi to the archive room, explaining how he'd discovered Luna's plot just in time. Steffi's gratitude warmed him despite the lingering adrenaline. Police took Luna away, promising a thorough investigation that would reveal the full extent of her schemes. As they led her out, Luna glared at Remy with a hatred so intense it sent a chill through him, but he stood firm. He had stopped a disaster, saved a friend, and exposed the darkest secret in Luna's heart. As for Luna, she vanished from the Forrester world, her reputation in ruins, her plans thwarted. Remy watched the door swing shut behind her, thinking that in a world built on glamour and ambition, sometimes it was the quiet vigilance of one loyal friend that made all the difference. And that even the most beautiful mask could hide a dangerous soul.